Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I am one of your co-hosts today, Dana Piccoli.
I'm Ian Martin.
I'm Kimberly Ann Southwick.
And I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and today we are here to discuss Angel Season 2, Belonging, the start of the end of the season. But before we get into the episode, I wanted to give our Patreon a little promo. Over there, you can listen to all of our Buffy Season 3 content, the full episodes. We put out shorter, edited down versions of those episodes on the podcast feed that are like a half hour long. But if you want the hour or sometimes hour plus version, get them on our Patreon. You also get access to our My Nudie Judy videos I did with Zach, which are like sex talk videos, Firefly coverage, Harley Quinn coverage, Batman the Animated Series coverage, and sometimes you get access to our watch-alongs over Zoom, our Discord channel, our Facebook group, and if you're at the top tier, which is higher power, you can be someone who gives an outro at the end of one of our recordings of your favorite outfit, your favorite scene, and grade. But yes, Belonging. What did we think revisiting this episode? Dana, did you know this episode at all? Was this your first time watching it?
This was my first time watching it,
Okay.
Ian. All of these are my first time watching.
But I know some of them you like kind of know. Like you kind of know what happens.
Yeah, but no, this. I'm pretty much an Angel virgin here. I was really excited when I saw Amy Acker's name in the promo. Don't really get there quite yet,
Right.
but I will say this felt the closest to a grown-up Buffy episode of the Angels that I've watched recently. The dialogue was spot on. The plot movement was spot on. So yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of this, and I will say this episode contains one of the scrungliest monsters, I have ever seen.
Good word. Kim, what'd you think revisiting this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not new to Angel, but as a rewatch of the series goes, I feel like, man, a lot of the episodes I've been on have sort of been bummers. And this one really did feel like a complete episode. And I was like, maybe the people I'm recording with it that have never watched Angel before won't hate this one. Because I feel like we're always defending Angel for some reason. We're like, no, it gets better, I promise. And I feel like here we are, it's finally picking up a bit.
Yeah, Ian?
I don't like it.
There'd be one. There's always one.
Yeah, and I hate being the one. The thing of it is I don't think that there's any reason not to like it. I think that it is polished. I think that it is setting up a bunch of nice character stuff for the mini arc that's going to follow the next 4 or 5 episodes. I love the exploration of Lorne and sort of the queer subtext of the whole thing that is hardly subtext.
Yeah.
But it all depends on what you come to the Buffyverse for. This is a very gentle episode, and I like the pain. The feelings, the drama, Angel is the dark show. And ever since Epiphany, we've been like the back half of Angel's season 2 is really light stuff, and it's all very well done. It's just not what I come to the show for.
That's fair, actually.
I'm in it to cry. My favorite episodes of Buffy are all of the super dramatic mainstays. If someone's dying, that's probably one of my favorite episodes. Doppelgangland is great, and I get why that is a fan favorite and one of the most cherished of the bunch. It just isn't for me, and those tastes pretty well map onto Angel as well, where I like to feel some things, and to me that heightens the joy and the comedy and whatever. But without the drama, it sort of feels a little sitcom-y. There's a little less, and I love sitcoms. I don't mean that as a pejorative. I just mean like the genre shifts so far away that and Buffyverse shows are genre benders as it is, but it bends so hard it just kind of becomes something else for me.
That's fair.
I don't know. I feel like it's like this final arc of the season here is doing a little bit of the same things that The Magicians does that I love, where we get like, I mean, we're going to talk about the episode, like the very end of the episode, and it's like the way that she reacts to being in, what is the name of that place? Pylea, there we go. I was not going to say it that way. The way that she reacts to being in Pylea is like almost comical, but it's a very serious situation that she's in. And I like that like juxtaposition that Angel and like Buffy like does so well of like the dramatic and the funny. And I think that's maybe what you're calling the sitcom-y stuff. Like the whole conversation at the beginning of this episode, you know, when they're at the sushi restaurant, it's like funny, but also the gang's all back together and it's kind of awkward. That like balance of the funny and the drama, I think the end of this season's larger arc, like let alone these small moments, I think does pretty well. And I'm just really excited to meet Fred.
It's a real palate cleanser, you know, and I don't say that to make it seem like it's not important, but in a way it also, because everyone is struggling with their own sense of belonging, it really like ties everyone and the episode together in this really nice balanced way.
Yeah, the character work I think is the strongest part of it. Everyone really gets something to do. I mean, maybe with the exception of Angel, who's a little, it just gets little bits here and there, but he's been such the focus of this season that they are just kind of carrying along his desire for a world of just good and evil and binary morality and all of that. But I think the character work for everyone is pretty strong. I love seeing finally we get Wes's dad in the picture to some degree, where he's just been mentioned in Under the Skin. I can't remember the name of the episode.
I've got you under my skin.
Yeah. So but again, that's the drama, that moment of seeing Wes crushed by his father's judgment. Yeah. As a card carrying daddy issue person, that does it for me. That's good stuff. You know, the rest of it, I think is, enjoyable, just not my thing.
That's fair.
Also, I feel like maybe we can like sell you on some of it by the end of this talk.
Okay.
Like that's our goal, y'all.
You know, Ian, I will say I recorded with the folks from Another Buffy podcast, which is the name of the podcast. This confused Jason when we recorded with them, Trevor and Kristen, who are great. And they are the first, they're, aside from you, the only other people I've met that they're both kind of like on season 3 the way you are. So you're not alone.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. The thing of it is I hate a dissection. I hate a takedown. I hate being a killjoy. I'd always rather have a good time. I'd always rather be, find the fun.
Yeah.
I really do need to find the fun, B. So, hopefully that happens. That's always an experience I'm looking for.
This episode starts with them at dinner, and this is something I feel like across the Buffyverse we never get enough of. Just like they're having a nice time hanging out. Like I love a scene where it's just like, and I think this scene especially we did need, right? Because we have this whole season's been so dramatic, and they do a little bit breeze over Angel being back on the group, but like the nature of TV, they can't have them all like hate him for the rest of the season or show.
I like what they do though with him, like in the mirror. So we just see the 3 of them and we think it's just the 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And then they pan away from the mirror and show that he's there. I thought that was a really good way to illustrate that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I do like when he says, "I'm not cheap, I'm just old," which is Angel, but also Kim.
LOL. I've always been this way, though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, even when you are like a kid. We learned that Cordelia booked a commercial, and she feels bad for not joining whatever fight that I appreciate also that they're like, yeah, she had a vision. We handle that plot. Because that makes sense, right? It makes sense that this group would have these like adventures that are very like side quests that don't actually matter because she's always getting visions. The thing for me that I will say, and Ian, I don't know if this bothered you, the wackiness of Angel, the scene starts good. I really like it. But then when he like grabs that woman's like shawl, right?
Yeah, David's kind of at 11 in the scene. There's a really there's a freeze frame where they're cheersing And the expression on David's face is, yeah, the grin, the bright eyes. I mean, it's a little campy and over the top, but it's also endearing because he's just happy to be back and happy to be a part of the group again. So,
well, he also doesn't really belong in like certain situations. I think it was showing like his awkwardness of like playing the role of a Cuban boy. Going to a restaurant, sitting there, and his awkwardness is so palpable in these moments. And I think that's kind of like the culmination of like his weirdness and his awkwardness of trying to fit in, trying to belong.
Well, particularly at a restaurant, cheersing over drinks you can't really taste, over food that you're, that you don't need to eat. Obviously, Spike enjoys food, but yeah, that particular context is probably not Angel's strong suit.
But Dana, you do make a good point. That was almost selling me more on it than I don't know. That bothered me, but now that you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
I think it bothered me just because it was so awkward, not because I thought it was bad writing.
That is.
Yeah, when we watch, my wife Lonnie and I kind of try and avoid super awkward things, no Curb Your Enthusiasms or any of that, because I have the same reaction. We watch certain episodes where people are fighting half the time or whatever, and the awkwardness and or the social the confrontation will cause me to sit there with my ears plugged. And so I have the because I just have such a stringent reaction to awkward staging. So that could be a little bit about what it's about too.
Wait, Ian, I love that. I love that like the awkward is too much for you.
Yeah, it took many rewatches to get through The Office, watching people fight on Survivor, which is one of Lonnie's favorite shows. She'll ask me how I enjoyed the episode. I say, this was great. I only got to watch about 20 minutes of it because my fingers were in my ears for the rest of it. But it's just a particular reaction that I have to awkwardness and conflict.
That's how I feel about Ben Stiller movies.
I thought it was interesting how not everyone at the sushi restaurant though was watching this happen. Like people in the background were just like eating and not paying attention to him, and I thought he was like so loud. So I thought that was weird.
Very like living in a city though, right?
Well, thankfully Cordelia breaks up the awkwardness by barfing right at the table.
And like very realistic soundingly too. Like I don't know if they legitimately had somebody barf to make the noise that makes, because I was like, that sounds like a true barf.
Yeah, it's interesting. Lonnie of Chipperish Media has written a bunch of is very fluent. Has been teaching me the language of 90s romantic comedies, and there's an element of this arc for Cordelia that is a romantic comedy, what with not to get too far ahead, but there are elements later on that kind of have a romantic comedy vibe to it. And one of the elements of early 90s or mid 90s romantic comedies is, and this isn't a good thing, but the humiliation of the female lead. So in French Kiss, for no reason whatsoever, Meg Ryan gets is lactose intolerant, and so eats a bunch of cheese so we can have a scene where she's humiliated. It's a weird trope of romantic comedies from the particular era that Angel is very close to, and for some reason, I mean, because of those elements that are in this mini arc in the back half of Angel season 2, I was definitely reminded of why are they okay. It's just such a specific trope. And I'm not sure it was used intentionally, but it definitely stood out to me.
I guess I look at it as the 90s were when we actually started treating women characters as like human beings. And like women accidentally have the shit sometimes, like women sometimes actually, puke at a restaurant. And I get what you're saying, Ian, about the humiliation factor, because there definitely are like these cringy moments in 90s things. But I also think it allowed women to be portrayed in a similar manner to the way that men are being portrayed in romantic comedies. And so I kind of like the throwing the prim and proper that we've had to play for so long out the window finally in like the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I like that reading too. Like maybe sometimes there's a pendulum swing that swings deep the other direction, so that we can course correct I think that's a good take.
So I'm going to sidetrack us a little bit more before Dana gets us back on track. This reminds me, the TV show Happy Endings. I don't know if any of you watched that show. It was like a very...
Oh, yeah.
Dana, then maybe you'll remember with the bit I'm about to say. And God, I never remember all the characters' names. But when Elijah Cuthbert, her sister's husband, I forget what that actor is. It's one of the Wayans brothers. They're like both find out they love romantic comedies and they're going to see them together. And like the romantic comedy they're watching, it's like the woman's arm catches on fire. And then you cut to them laughing and they're like, oh, that never happens in real life. And then we cut to Penny on her date. She puts her arm down on the table and it catches on fire because she puts it on the candle.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite bits because it's like making fun of them, but not in a cruel way. It's just like being like, yeah, romantic comedies can be silly, but then being like, we have a character that is like one of those romantic comedy characters.
Yes, absolutely.
Cordelia barfs. The barf felt like too much not in a way, because you are right, Dana. Like, yes, like women can get the shits and barf, but the way it was like, I was like, oh, this is a vision, is what I thought, because like the way she falls over and like drags everything off the table with her, I was like, oh, she's like pretending she's just sick, but it's a vision, and then no, that's not what it was.
Evidently, you've never had food poisoning because everything's coming down, Ian. Everything. And speaking of coming down,
Yes.
We're soon moving into Wesley having a very sad conversation with his father, who's desperate for his approval. He's hoping his father will be proud that he's now in charge of the Angel investigation, conglomerate. But his father's like, didn't you get fired before? And like, are you sure you're not going to get fired again?
I like that this is mostly paid off in season. Not quite. I don't know, Ian. That's like probably the incorrect term, right? That really paid off in season 5, but we get to it in season 5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything since we have someone who has not seen the entire thing, but yeah, it continues to move forward. They take this little element from this one and the previous episode and really develop with Wesley in a way that I tend to enjoy.
Yes, same. I do like that.
I like that too a lot. I love the development of his character and Cordy's character all throughout Angel. I also, though, did think that the music that they played was like too much. It was like too sad. I was like, we get it. He's having a sad conversation because his dad doesn't approve of him. This music that you're playing, though, was like just so sad. I'm like, we get it. We don't need the music. Did anyone else notice that, or is it just me?
If there's one thing I think the episode does not have, it's a light touch.
Yeah.
It's a pretty heavy-handed episode. I mean, the comedy is, as in her Pratt falling over the table while she's getting sick, David's face at the table, all of that. So there's not a lot of subtlety in the general tone of the whole thing. So yeah, I kind of agree with you.
That's fair. I just don't even remember the music.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, you're right. This episode is the subtlety of a bag of hammers.
Then we cut to Angel, and it looks like he's in sunlight.
It's so cute. It's actually a really sweet moment.
Yes, right.
I love that too very much.
Because I like that he looks happy, right? He's like, oh, look, I am in
He does.
sunlight.
He's like, he closes his eyes. He can feel it. He remembers the sun on his face. It's really sweet.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I know we just said heavy-handed, but I actually find the music in that little bit pretty nice. That's actually strangely one of the most memorable scenes from the series for me. I sometimes don't remember what episode it's in, but I remember, you remember that scene when he was on set with Cordelia and stood under the sunlight? Oh, that was really nice. Even the memory, the simulated experience of sunlight and his humanity was enough to bring him sort of joy and comfort. It's really a beautiful little scene.
Yeah.
Followed by,
right? Garbage director.
So I loathe to even do this, but like, it was really hard watching this scene and separating it from what we know have been done.
You can't not, it was so, I don't know, like,
right?
It's just interesting.
Incredibly well, and not so. There's sort of like multiple layers of
Yeah.
So if you're gonna go here and do the misogynist objectification, all of that, can I spoil one detail, an episode later on?
Yeah, don't worry about me, Ian. Go for it.
Okay. Then to put her in another bikini later on in an episode or two later without sort of grappling with, this is so heavy-handed, this scene. And that's always the issue, the struggle with Buffyverse stuff. When I talk about how heavy-handed some of the patriarchal, you're a girl, you want me to work it off for you, Peaches? When they go like, oh, look at the sexist guys, it's so heavy-handed, and then so much other stuff is ignored. It's the constant sort of complaint about Xander and the way he, Cordelia's dressed like Barbara Bush and he's saying she's dressed slutty. Like the constant other stuff that doesn't get commented on. It's and this particular scene, it's almost like the scene wants a trophy for calling out the sexism, but I can't reconcile that against not only the outfit that Cordelia is wearing in Pylea, which is portrayed in a different way as sort of empowering or what have you, even though she's a slave in that scene too. But then you have the added layer of what Charisma Carpenter went through on the set itself. There's so many weird, confusing, like if is the princess outfit later in the mini arc supposed to be commentary in some way on this scene, but then they're having their cake and eating it too by putting her in. I'm so confused.
Self-awareness was not a priority.
She looks so hot though. Like her boobs look so good. And I feel like someone needs to say this. And like, as a straight woman, like I'm going to say it. I don't know.
You're allowed to say it because you're not like, you're objectively looking at it.
And I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but it just needed to be said.
Yeah, I just like, the director was too much. And it's like, I just was like, who did we base this character off of? Like,
But I know it seems like it's too much.
Yes. Well, yeah.
This is absolutely not too much. This absolutely happened and happens to actors, especially women. And so it comes across as like, oh, this is too much. But it's like, this was happening to them.
Yeah. But there's also something else I can't reconcile with this. But more importantly, I think, and I'm curious what you all think, so the episode before this is Dead End, where like Lindsay's last episode. And that's the first episode where like there's that scene where he brings Cordelia like all the food from like a restaurant. And she's like, you brought me so much. And he was like, I couldn't remember what you liked, so I brought you everything. And that for me felt like the first beat. And I was like, am I reading too much into this? But then in this episode, just how defensive he gets, I think that this is like the start of him falling in love with her, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering, Dana, what you would, since I know this is your first time, but right, that feels like that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there was
that
I don't
moment.
remember if it was this moment, but I also agree. I don't remember if it was this moment though, or there was a later moment too. So I'm curious, Dana, if you felt it here or like there was another part in the episode that you felt it.
So here I'm watching it and I'm like, is he just being super protective because that's what Angel does? Or is there something more? And then it connects to that next moment when they're back at the Hyperion and Angel's up, talking about how he didn't like how this director was talking to Cordelia. There are these moments that in his face that you can see that there's something more there.
Okay, so I'm glad it wasn't just like, because they are my favorite like straight couple ship in Buffyverse. Like I love they get to know each other, they get comfortable with each other, because when I was watching Dead End with Jason, hilariously, this episode it airs later, but I forgot to book any more guests for the Lindsay's last episode, so it was just me and Jason. But Jason even said, yeah, but like you and I, when we lived together, we would do shit like that. We'd be like, hey, I'm bringing home dinner, and then we'd eat together. Like, oh, you're sick, let me go get you something. And I was like, yeah, but like I can see that. And to Jason's credit, he probably, if he was on a set where some director was being shitty to me, he also, I had a guy try to fight me at Stonewall once, and Jason gripped the guy up and slammed him against the wall, like, immediately when the guy touched me. So, like, I do know there is, like, a friend element there, but I do think this is the start of him. And I almost think that he's getting aware of it too, right?
Yes, that's the thing. That's the thing I see in his face.
Yes. And like, it's weird because I've read that like and Ian, you might know better than I do. I've read that wasn't always the plan. And it feels like that was the plan here.
Well, especially given Gruselug, who I tend to refer to as just Diet Angel.
Yeah.
He's so obviously patterned after Angel, and it's such a tropey thing to sort of create the will they, won't they, and then immediately introduce an impediment to the will they, won't they. You know, the Moonstruck structure. Moonlighting, thank you, not Moonstruck. And then Castle, and it's been the part of the model ever since. But yeah, so because of the character that is about to be introduced in an episode or two, it feels pretty planned to me.
Yes, right. Yes. Knowing where it goes even is like...
You're one of the first people I've heard hold this up as one of the better romances, straight romances in the show, though. But I can kind of get it because unlike a lot of the other romances that are sort of... I mean, Buffy and Angel were sort of the dying star teenage implosion romance, the Romeo and Juliet passion in an instant sort of thing. This is something that feels more adult because it's grounded in friendship and evolves slowly over time. So I like that. I think that those tend to be some of the more enjoyable romantic stories.
Yeah. Yes, and I think Angel and Buffy, and you know, when we revisited it, Dana, I think, didn't we do a season 2 episode where we talked about how like they did have like, it's like, we forgot how good their chemistry was.
Mm-hmm.
And like I do think it's there, but it's kind of like it has to be there, right? That is the story with Angel. There isn't another story going on there. He's in love with Buffy. They have like you said, Ian, the like star-crossed lover, Romeo and Juliet crap going on. And then Riley's kind of like there. And then Spike is maybe the one that gets to develop with Buffy. So I do understand why that pairing has the most devoted of the pairings. But, you know, all of them had like, quote unquote, the bad thing that happens. And this one, I agree with you, Ian, it just feels adult and there isn't like a bad thing. Neither of them do like a really terrible thing to each other while going through this. So for me, I'm like, yeah, I like this. And I feel like they are a good balance for each other. Angel's not fucking mopey all the time about her. She, while I do think I do think it takes her a little bit longer to realize it than Angel. She's not just all puppy dog over him. She's like, she likes him and she likes spending time with him. And then slowly she's like, wait a minute, this might be more. And I don't know. I just, Kim, you are
they're peers.
Yes,
they're peers.
Yes, and I love that. Even though realistically they're not peers, and she's like maybe 20.
Right. He's hundreds of years old, and he's a powerful demon. But yeah, they're peers.
Right. But Kim, what do you think about that? Like,
yeah, I like the way that other Ian to call you other Ian. I like the way that there's no good way to say it. Put that like it's an adult relationship. I think that that's a really smart way to put it. And I just love how subtle it is.
Yeah.
But we see that change in him. And to one of you, I think, Ian, you were just saying this too, how we can see that he's like a lighter around her. You know, that like broodiness that really drags him down, that people don't seem to like in the what we've watched so far of Angel on Slayerfest, that really kind of gets sucked out when he is falling in love and then in love with her.
Yes. And honestly, Zach has not been really won over this season. And I'm like, but I know you'll be won over once we get more of this. But Dana, also, I'm curious, what do you think of it? Do you like it or?
The potential relationship or possibility of relationship? Yeah. I didn't at first. I can see it now.
Okay. That's fair.
But season 1, I was like, give me a break. But I can see it. Just, physically they look older. They're acting older. The stakes are different. So it does make sense now.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. So I know I just spent freaking 15 minutes about a 1-second scene, but that's important to me. So then we cut to the Hyperion Hotel. We need the like other plot of like Gunn's old gang comes, and he like basically, right, the like conceit of that is he's not there for them, right? Is that's like what we're going towards.
And this really sets up some I hate the word problematic. I think it's been beat into the ground, but in some situations it's helpful. There's a lot of sort of racial and class coding that occurs with Gunn's arc over the course of the show that I think was well-intentioned, but not deliberate. But it's one of the issues when you sort of take a step back and look at Angel as a whole. And this is really where this and Thin Dead Line is really where the roots of that story begin.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, and this is always my argument, how like, and I'm going to welcome to My Bloody Judy. In the movie It, part 1 and 2, part 2 opens with a fucking hate crime where this gay couple gets like beat to shit. And you're supposed to be like, well, that's Pennywise's influence on the town. And I'm like, but like that happens in real life without Pennywise the clown. And then the one boyfriend gets fucking eaten after being hate crimed by the clown. And so a lot of people had this disagreement of like, well, gay people are allowed to be, in horror movies too. And it's like, yes, but if they're the only gay characters in this movie,
and their gayness is the reason that they are in peril.
Yes.
That's the key to the bury your gays trope, or those sorts of things, or tropes in general. Is that queerness or someone's race or someone's religion is or whatever is the reason that they're being targeted and the reason that they suffer.
Yes. And Dana, did you see those movies?
Yes, because
right, they do try to like get it in the end where they like have that like kicker of like maybe the guy was in love with the other guy, but it's like right.
It was the dumbest choice, and I remember just being appalled at the theater.
Yes. But so I think like that's what I feel like with Gunn. I think you're completely correct, Ian, because I think if we had other characters of color that were not in a gang, like it would have been like, okay, yes, one of the characters can be, but because he is the only black character, it's like, all right, we gotta do this.
Yeah, and because race and poverty lines and all of that tend to line up in this country, a lot of times it ends up being commentary on, and I'm not going to do the analysis justice in this particular, but the takeaway is that it ends up being commentary between belonging in white culture means giving up your identity. And again, I don't think that they meant to wander into that, but I don't think that Seeing Red knew what they were walking into with that episode either.
Don't even say it.
Yeah.
The episode Dana will never forgive me for making her co-host. Actually, you both, Dana and Kim, you were both on for that episode.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
I think the best part for me about the lore of Seeing Red, though, not to get off topic here, but Joss was excited as all get out to tell Amber Benson not only was she going to not have a job anymore, but this beloved character was going to be brutally murdered.
And put in the credits as a ha-ha.
Like, oh, I'm so geeked.
God, and she talked about that when we had her on last time she was on the podcast. Remember, Dana?
Yeah, she's been pretty open about that.
Yeah. So we get the crew, and it's what they want to borrow his car, right? And he says, "No, right. I'll meet you." And then they kind of
because they're tracking down the Hockler demon that was in Cordelia's vision. So Gunn runs off with Angel and Wesley instead of George and Rondell.
Right. Yes. And like I just don't know what, because Ian, you're 100% correct. I don't think they did it on purpose, but I don't know what they're trying to say here. Like, because then the one guy does die, and it's like, oh shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know that they're trying to say anything, but it's what they're doing is they're trying to. Everyone's having an identity crisis. It just happens that Guns is not steeped in fantasy.
Yeah.
It's not. We're not talking demons and angels and all of that. We're talking about something that is still a very vital, important cultural conversation, and maybe there was some an education or some background or having some non-white writers in the writers' room that could have really helped the story. As it is, though, I think that it was all done with good intentions, which is that every character is getting some development and some grounding in not only what's going on in this episode, but what's to come.
Yes,
it's just unfortunate, especially because I love Gunn's character. I think his performance is wonderful. It's just a little complicated.
Yeah. So then Angel comes. They leave. Angel enters, and here's another thing where we don't need to harp on this because I know we're 40 minutes in and we're barely 10 minutes into the episode. But the beat of when Angel is pissed about the director and then says, he put Cordy in this revealing bikini and then kind of
flimsy swimsuit.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they all kind of pause and right? It was a bit much. Yeah.
That's the whole problem I have with the director call out of objectification, and then the whole episode wants to have its cake and eat it too. It's like, you don't get a trophy for then sort of stopping to have a masturbation joke where all of your, as he's, squeezing his hilt a little too hard.
Yeah.
As all of the male characters on the show objectify currently the only female character on the show. Yeah, it's so tone deaf.
Dana, that feels very you-know-who, right?
Well, as a lesbian, I have had many male friends over the course of my life whose friendships I had to prematurely end.
Okay.
Because no matter what, there was always this undercurrent of some sort of attraction or, possessiveness or something like that. So this doesn't feel as off to me as maybe it feels off to you guys. But maybe Kimberly could speak to this too. But I've had guy friends, and this is how a lot of guy friends have made me feel over my life. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm not saying it's not realistic.
Yeah, I don't think the realism is the problem here. I think it's more that the having the cake and eating it too, right? Can we paint up this character, the director, we're supposed to not like, and we're only supposed to not like him because he is being a misogynist very openly. And then can we give our three leading men this subtle objectification moment, which objectification and misogyny are they hold hands. I don't know if they're exactly on top of each other. Oh man, that was the worst phrase to use there ever. But yeah, I think that it's more then there's lots of bad guys on the show suddenly, not just this one skeevy director.
Yeah.
But maybe the subtlety of it, I don't know.
I wonder, is the question not whether the behavior is something that actually occurs, but is the scene itself calling it out, or is it participating?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I think it's calling it out, though.
You think so?
See, I think that's where I think I'm disagreeing with you guys, because I saw it as these guys are complaining about the same thing that they're actively engaged in. And that felt very clear to me watching it.
Okay.
But that might be just maybe my perspective is skewed on it.
That's fair.
I think to me, the moment was written as funny.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be funny. And that's why I didn't see it the way that you're seeing it, Dana. The way that they all sort of pause and stare into the middle space. We were supposed to be haha, now they're all imagining Cordy in a bathing suit.
Yeah, but Dana, I do appreciate you having a different reading. Because I actually rewound that scene because I was like, wait a minute, what did Gunn and Wes do? And they are pretty blank-faced. Like, they just kind of look at him. And I was like, maybe there's a reading where it's like they are blanking because of the fact that he's the one tightening the hilt. Because they literally, like, I think Gunn's eyebrow raises a, like, pinch. And Wes is completely blank-faced. So I'm like, is this supposed to be that they're like, all right, dude, why'd you stop and you're grabbing that sword a little too tight? Or are they like, oh, she's hot? Like, I couldn't quite. So I could see, I definitely can see that reading. But okay, now that I delayed us on this 2-second scene again, even though I said I wouldn't. So they're like, oh, shouldn't we go kill a demon? And we cut to Lorne, which I need to know what the fucking music budget was on this show.
That must have cost a fortune. A Stevie Wonder song?
Right?
Oh my God, I thought the exact same thing, Ian. I was like, that was 90% of the episode's budget right there.
It was a weird cut too, because I was like, wait a second, we already have like A plot, B plot. Like now we're going to get C plot. And so I like how it all comes together, even though it felt like we were doing too many things there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very much enjoying Superstition.
Yeah.
In this episode, is this the first time we actually learn Lorne's name?
Yes.
Because he's just referred to as the host, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like basically not referred to like by name at all. Okay.
Yeah.
This is when this scrungly demon comes in. You guys, the scrungliest demon that may have ever. The long arms, he looks like the Mucinex demon with slender man arms.
That is
so scrungly.
Very specific.
My note says, demon jumps out. It's ugly.
I think the demon looked like the hellhounds from season 3 that attacked Prom, but with a pig face. That's what I thought they looked like.
I was thinking of the demon that from Superstar that is the consequence of his wish to be famous, because they did the same stilt arms. I think
they were just
in
recycling.
that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels to me there are actual hellhounds from the Prom in the next episode. It's the first.
Got it.
It's the first demon that Cordy sees in Pylea in the next one, and I'm pretty sure that's a recycled outfit from the hellhounds in the Prom. This one I think looks like the demon from Superstar.
Okay, well, whatever. The Draken is what its name is. It's ugly as sin. It is so dorky, and it just like wreaks havoc. Doesn't hurt anybody really, but it like wreaks havoc at Caritas, and Lorne is pissed about it. And he's like, "Hey, I need some help here."
I like that he's like, this is all part of the show.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I like he tries to play it off because his place is supposed to be like a safe space.
Yeah. And I feel like Lorne is definitely one of those, like, the show must go on. Keep going. Like, the demon left. We're good. Everyone keep drinking. I feel like he would buy everyone around. And
yeah, totally.
So then he goes, then he goes to see everyone at the Hyperion Hotel, saying he like needs their help and needs them to kill this beast. So the whole Pylea arc is a little, I don't know. I'm going to wonder how I feel about it going forward for the podcast, but I don't love when it's like, oh, you don't know what that demon is. It's too old. And I'm like, we do this so often. And like, Lorne has been living there. So like, don't they know demons from that universe? Shouldn't they know that universe exists? I don't know. Like, it feels like otherwise they would have been like, what are you? When they see him, if that's not a demon that they know.
I think there's so many demons that it's like, they don't always know them. They have to like look them up in books.
Yeah.
True.
Right. But if this is like a place that only Lorne has known about.
True.
And because Lorne's like, don't even bother looking in your books. You won't know this demon. And he's very, very like specific that he needs to be killed. Like, you got to kill this guy.
Yeah.
You got to kill this demon. You got to kill him good. So it's like, oh, Lorne, it seems like you know a little bit more about this than anybody else. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of beasts in alternate realities and worlds that aren't going to be in somebody's book.
That's fair. He like stresses the importance of killing the demon. It's a man-eating demon and is probably very hungry. And as they agree to help him, Cordelia gets a vision of who, Dana?
Amy Acker. I mean, sorry, Fred.
Yeah, same thing. I like, I forgot that we see her at all in this. I don't revisit these episodes a lot, so I like actually forgot not until I revisit it today, but sometimes when I'm getting like prepping for the like images, I will do like a fast forward watch where I just like skip the scenes and see if there's like an image that pops out to me to try to like do. And I remember being like, wait, Amy Acker's in this? What? And I forgot that that's like why they go to the library. In my head, it was just, there was a totally different plot. They happen to be at the library. Lorne's cousin comes in and then Cordy gets sucked in there and Fred is who she meets. I didn't think that Fred is who they're looking for. I like fully forgot that. And now I realize I might have just spoiled it for you, Dana. Sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, I get it. I knew she was going to be a very big part of this, so it all makes sense. So don't worry about it.
Okay. As I said that, I was like, oh, fuck. And so she gets a vision. And what is the conceit there, Ian, when they're, because isn't it like, well, no, we need to get the demon. Well, no, we need to go to the library.
It's plot needs this to happen.
Fair enough.
I like in that particular scene. Thing of it is, this is kind of where the episode derails to me a little bit. So much of this setup is for the next few episodes. Yeah. But I think something this episode suffers from is, oh, well, we still need a plot. Mm. We still need something to happen in this way. Okay, well, it's a hunt, and then the cousin, and then all of that. But all of the fun character work that they've set up is really juicy and doesn't have much of a payoff here. So once it descends into sort of rote demon hunting and characters, extras getting eaten on set by the demon with stilt arms and all of that, it's sort of like, well, okay. I'm just waiting for the rest of the episode or the future episodes.
I don't know. I feel like the way that they like Angel's like, oh, I feel like Lorne's not telling us something. Like, I feel like there's this sense that like Lorne knows something, and you're waiting from the scene in the Hyperion till like we get the other demon that comes out kind of looking very similar to him. You're like waiting to see what the connection is, and I think that it's like obvious enough and subtle enough that it's enjoyable.
Well, another question: what is the motivation for Lorne keeping this a secret?
Because he's ashamed and he doesn't want to go back, and he doesn't want anybody to know about this world and like this, because he's cultivating a very specific image for himself, and to be coming from this world that seems pretty like medieval. Mm-hmm. That would kind of go against all the suaveness and assuredness that Lorne presents.
So, Dana, you said pretty medieval. I gotta bring up and I'm probably gonna say this for every episode moving forward to the rest of the season. The Pylea world just feels like the Hercules Xena universe world.
Perfect.
Like, I'm always like, did they just like go to like Xena set and they're like, hey, can we borrow this for real quick? Although I think Xena might have been done by this point, but like, that's what it all feels like to me. And no hate, because I did love Xena. So hilariously, Kim actually watched Xena more religiously than I did. Remember, Kim?
That was a long time ago, though, and I don't have a good memory for television. But yes, I was a big Xena and Gabrielle fan. I had a shirt that looked just like Gabrielle's shirt that I was very proud of.
And
to me, it's funny. We all have our own frame of reference. To me, it feels like an OG Star Trek episode where they beam down to a planet that's never met. Just sort of that camptastic. This is what a planet that wouldn't be spacefaring looks like, according to the 60s television.
I think also it's where I got my magician's idea in the front, too. It's like certain parts of Fillory are like this as well.
Yeah, just with like a better budget, I guess.
Yeah, like state park.
Like, can we go to the Ren Fair? We're going to shoot at the Ren Fair. No one take anything down.
I mean, the nice part is I think even Buffy already has gone to the Southern California deserts enough at this point. It's nice to see something a little different. California is very geographically diverse, but and that happens on a ton of shows, LA shows that were shot around that time. Is anytime there's a desert or a dry, arid, mountainous region, it's all just Southern California, just outside of LA. And this doesn't look that way, which I appreciated.
That's true, yes. So they go to the library. I do love the bit.
Oh wait, hold on, Ian. We missed
Oh, right.
while they decide to go off on this. Gunn goes back to his friends and finds out that one of his friends was actually bitten by George. I think it was George was bitten, and they don't know if he's going to be turned or not.
Yes.
And so, and it's this, everyone's standing, it's really sad. Everyone's standing around, and he walks through this crowd and he sees his friend, and it's very very upsetting.
Yeah. And like the look on his face, it's like, fuck. He definitely felt it, right? That like he fucked up, even though like, he didn't do anything, but like you could see that the look on Lorne's face is like, fuck, I should have been there or whatever. So then we go to the library, and I love Lorne running into that woman and calling attention to the fact that this is a demon in like a bright colored suit with bright colored skin just walking around.
It's the original drag queen story hour.
Talking about deja vu, like a normal human.
And so I like that we're like, because I didn't even think about that, honestly, and I should have, because like, again, he is a very conspicuous demon.
Right. But I love that immediately she thinks that he's there because of the storytelling.
Yes.
Which would be amazing. I would so sit and watch Lorne read me stories.
Right?
Absolutely. I did think actually, like, because when he's sort of like, I guess I'll come with you or something, like I think just the way he said it made me be like, oh yeah, like he's a demon. That's not normal.
And I like that she's like, oh, but that story time is tomorrow. And he's like, oh, right. Well, I never, do a job without checking out the space first.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Yeah. That's how I get.
And then we learn, what is it that I forget what they asked her. I know she says, oh, that would be Fred, but I forget. Like, what do they ask her?
So Cordelia describes this woman that she sees in her visions, and she's like, no, I don't have anybody working there. But then Cordelia mentions that necklace, that like apple or circular, whatever that, and that rings a bell in the librarian's in mind, and was like, oh God, that sounds like Fred. Like, I mean, she disappeared 5 years ago, and like she shows a picture of her missing flyer.
So yes, they go more into the library. Cordelia, what is it? The book is the book she saw in her vision, right? That's why she picked it up.
Yeah. And she starts reading from it poorly. I thought she was doing.
There are no vowels. It's all consonants.
I thought she was doing a poor job. I didn't know how the portal actually opened, but that's, I guess I don't know a lot about foreign languages.
You know what that reminded me of? The callback to Buffy. I think I forget what season 4 episode it is, because it's a very throwaway. Ian, do you know what I'm going to say? I feel like you might know what I'm going to say.
Xander, don't speak Latin in front of the books.
Thank you.
I think I mentioned it the last time we talked, but I now I don't remember what episode it is. It may be No, it's not Doppelgangland. I don't remember. It's one of the ones Riley's in, because Xander is talking to Riley, but beyond that, it escapes me.
Yeah, I don't. But that's what that reminded me of. Because I do like that in this universe, we know that even if they're just like saying shit, it can like do a spell. So Cordelia does that, and out pops who, Kim?
Man, you're going to make me pronounce this guy's name.
You can just say Lorne's cousin.
It's Landok.
I think I've got LeDunk written down every time in my notes, but I don't know his full name. But anyway, Landok is a demon that looks like a more medieval version of Lorne.
Yes. And, I think, Ian, you mentioned it, like, it's heavy-handed, but I do like the, like, queer metaphor here of, like, Lorne is so well dressed in like his bright colors, and in this universe, Lorne feels like so together and like so. But then we see how nervous he gets around his family, and they're like these like goobers who like dress in like potato sacks and have like long hair and beards, and he's like so clean cut.
And I love that it's the Death Knot clan. I just like that it's like, I forget, Krevlorn swath of the Deathlock clan.
Yep.
I don't know. Then they just keep saying Deathlock over and over again. And I thought it had a really great touch for like the scariness of this place that he comes from, like, and who he is, I don't know. I thought it added to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would imagine that someone who comes from the Deathwalk clan would be very formidable. But here's Lorne, a dapper dressed kind of dandy karaoke singer.
Yeah. And like, I do think that's clever, right? Like, I do think it's clever that, like, that's what he comes from, but he didn't want that. And so he came into this universe and, started getting like very nice tailored suits with like bright colors and was like, ugh, no more potato sacks for me.
Yeah, I love the structure of the metaphor. Yeah. The line, a world of only good and evil, black and white, no gray, no music, no art. And that as the medium for discussing it, I think is really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just sort of I guess I wish it was a more serious episode, I suppose. But then again, if this is a Lorne-centric arc, his character is bright and joyful, and so is this arc, so it makes a lot more sense. The one thing I really like, though, the detail that I didn't notice before, is sort of in a world of binary, good and evil, no music, no art. When Cordy looks up at the sky at the end of the episode, there's two suns.
Yeah.
So you even in their sky have that representation of just binary.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's deep. I didn't go that far. But that's what you're good. That's what you're good at, Ian.
That's Ian. That's what we have you for. I always feel like I'm the one that's like, Buffy's hair is pretty, and Ian is like, well, this is the metaphor here. This is the story.
But just so we're clear, Buffy's hair is very pretty.
It is pretty. Well, this Landok guy was like, all right, well, I can like smell his aura or something. Like, I can't remember exactly what it does, but which apparently is something Lorne could have learned how to do if he would have, gone with his birthright, but that wasn't his thing. So he joins the team on this search for this Dokken beast, who, by the way, is like out there being scrungly and like eating people, on Hollywood Boulevard.
I do love too when Lorne is saying the line, "No art, no culture, just binary, just heroes hunting," and all of that. The cut to Angel's face, who, I mean, David Boreanaz also has this very Cro-Magnon look to him on his own. That look of him just wanting that, desperately desiring that himself, I thought was a nice cut.
Yeah. Yes. And his stupid fucking face. Yes, it's perfect. And then, God, my notes are a little jumbled here. Dana, where do we go after this?
So they're tracking the Draken, and Landok is like doing his, aura sniffing or whatever, and they find. I think he figures out that he's got a woman with him that he's going to eat later, and so they've got to run off and try to get it. And they run into the demon, of course, and Landok gets bitten, and this Draken venom is apparently like very poisonous to Lorne's clan, and they got to figure out how to get Landok back or he's going to die.
Then when do we cut back to Gunn? That was what
I think it was before that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
The pier for his friend that got bitten, just in case they tried to turn him.
Right.
Which they don't really spend. It's a brief moment, and it's he gets mad at his friend for them not waiting for him. I think is
that's it.
The big part.
Right, but he's really in reality he's just mad at himself for not being there.
Yes.
Yes.
Right before the very dramatic Viking funeral.
Yes. Yeah.
In this episode, again, just in this episode, it's such a weird tone shift.
It is. Yes, it is. So then what is it? Then Angel.
Oh, there's like a special type of metal or whatever that's forged only in their land that can kill this demon. And so Landok's like, well, we can't, kill him without this thing. But of course, Angel is Angel. And so he and Wesley go head to toe with this scrunkly demon, and Angel manages to slay it.
Yes. And so Angel, disposes of the demon. Cordelia says they can get Landok back home for a cure by reading from the book again, right?
Well, they've got to find one of the areas where the portal was, so they go back to Caritas.
Yes, right. And she has that, big book. She reads from it,
No, he reads from it.
He reads from it. I have like a stupid nitpicky thing about this that like he reads from it. They're all standing like side by side, right? The way they're like the scene is shot, like Lorne, Angel, Wesley, and Cordelia are like all right next to each other. Opens a portal, that's big shiny light, and then it stops, and we see that who is gone?
Cordelia.
It just, and this is so nitpicky, but I'm like, wouldn't someone have seen her fly by? Like, they're looking at the portal. They're literally looking at it.
Maybe it was very bright. It made like a flash.
All right.
Maybe it had like tendrils or something that like reached out in the brightness and grabbed her. I have no idea how the hell she ended up.
I want you to know I've taken I've had such trouble. This is just me being a big fucking nerd. I've had so much trouble like thinking of images for these like last few episodes of the season, especially with this episode. I'm like, what the fuck do I do for it? I have taken like 3 different versions, and even as we're talking, I'm like, oh, maybe I should try this. Maybe I'll try that, because like there's just like it's set up and there's so much going on, and but. So then Cordelia has vanished, and she wakes up in this strange world that looks like she could run into Xena.
She goes, oh, crap.
Yeah.
She looks great, though, having just transported to a different dimension. She looks fantastic. Yeah, and that's it. We end on a cliffhanger.
And I like that it's not just the Cordy's in another dimension cliffhanger. We've also got like the Fred stuff going on, and we feel like we learned more about Lorne. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of like open-endedness to this episode.
It set up a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
that like makes me want to watch more. I'm not like, man, they didn't cover this. I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see the next one.
I like
more than any particular Buffyverse run. This series of episodes feels like a movie.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of cool for that reason, and it suffers for that reason. I think individually the episodes don't have as much weight as they do in other stories. Maybe the back half of Buffy season 5, but I mean, as soon as they start running from Glory, that kind of feels like a mini movie. Mm-hmm. But even that feels the episodes like Weight of the World have their own identity, and almost everything in this feels like set up for the mini movie. And I know people love the mini movie. I just think that it's not even a mini movie, really. You're talking about 4 or 5 right. 45-minute episodes. But I just think that it leaves them sort of individually feeling afloat.
Yeah, I guess so. We're at the end. I have a new I do like little trivia. And Ian, if you have, I feel like you always have trivia at like the top of your head. If you have any to add, that's cool too. Throw it in there. But I just have 2 bits of trivia for this episode. When she walks out and takes off her robe and is in the bikini, we see Cordelia has the scar from where the rebarb pipe went into her side in Lover's Walk, which is an actual scar that Charisma Carpenter has, which is so weird that they wrote it into the show, but sure, that works for continuity. And this is something I had never noticed before. The jumpsuit Cordelia wears is like almost exactly the same jumpsuit Harmony wears in Fool for Love earlier that season of Buffy. And when Harmony leaves in the 2 episodes before this, she says she left clothes at her place, but I just can't see them doing that on purpose. But right? I don't know.
That was kind of a popular design around this time. That jumpsuit with like a wide leg and a really form-fitting top and that goes into a wide leg. So I mean, it's possible that there just happened to be more than one, but I could see Cordelia being like, "I'm snatching this."
True, be like, "I look good in this," and she does look good in it. So, all right. Well, now that we're at the end, favorite scene, Dana.
Favorite scene is going to be that little moment that Angel has in the sun.
Oh, okay. Ian?
That one as well. Probably second favorite scene then is just getting to hear the lounge lizard version of Superstition is a ton of fun.
Kim?
I mean, it's a silly one because it's not like it's my favorite scene, like it was my favorite thing to watch. But like when we get like, I guess, Fred's origin story, just because I know what's coming. you know, I think that I paid more attention to that this time than I did for my first watch through.
Yeah.
And so that was really like impactful and meaningful to like me because I love that character. But I know that's kind of a cop-out answer because it's like not the best scene. It's just like the one I appreciated the most on my rewatch.
There are no incorrect answers for favorite scene.
Oh, yay. Thanks, BFF.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ian. My favorite, the Ians are in agreement. I love Lorne singing Superstition. And I love that we like, I almost wish we sat on it longer. I'm like, give me a little bit more of him singing that. I was into it.
They could only afford that
right,
much.
Yeah, probably. And I think I've mentioned this a bazillion times, but I always think of how the Magicians, there was like a panel because they sing Taylor Swift in season 1. But right, Kim, it is like maybe 20 seconds where they sing Taylor Swift Shake It Off. And they had to pay, I think it was, God, now I think I've said this before in the podcast. So the number's probably, I think it was like $20,000 is how much they had to pay for like 20 seconds of a Taylor Swift song. That's not even her singing, it's the characters singing.
Yeah, I worked at a music publishing company and we had a copyright division and we owned the copyright to Carol of the Bells.
Oh, Jesus.
And among other things. But yeah, it's to use any of that stuff in any public performance or anything, it's extremely expensive. I can't believe they got away with only 20 grand on a Taylor Swift song.
To be fair, I mean, she was already super famous, but right, Kim, it was before she was like the most world famous person that she is now.
I mean, she's dating like world famous football player Travis Kelce now, so she's like the most famous she's ever been.
My bleak but funny. My friend at
sorry, that was a joke. I know that you guys aren't sports fans. My point was that she's way more famous than him.
Yes.
LOL. Ha ha ha. Sorry. Big football fan over here.
My friend at my mother's funeral 2.0, we did like a luncheon for people that couldn't make her funeral. He said to me, I feel like she's the most famous person. Her and Beyonce are the most famous people in the world right now. And if one of them ran for president, they'd win. And I was like, probably yeah.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, right? You know what? At this point, fucking whatever.
I mean, they have the same qualifications as Trump did. You know, why not?
But they're at least more progressive and nicer.
Right. There you go.
Favorite outfit, Kim?
All right, bear with me here.
Okay.
I like Cordy's hair at the beginning. That is like all curly.
Okay.
But I like the blue jumpsuit for like clothes. So like curly hair, blue jumpsuit. Even though I like the way the straight hair looks with the blue jumpsuit. So I don't know. Mishmash.
All right. Dana?
This is an abysmal costume episode. There's really only two that are in the running, and that's Lorne's outfit, his kind of like yellow suit, and Cordy's denim jumper.
That's fair. Yes, correct. Ian?
I mean, my real answer is Lorne's suit, but I was struck by Wesley's depression shirt that he's wearing when he and his dad are having a fight. It's kind of like a button-up number that looks like something I would have worn in college, along with Hawaiian shirts pretty regularly. I was that guy in flip-flops. Right. So I guess it's weird to see yourself on screen a little bit.
The jumpsuit and I actually love her, Charisma Carpenter has like the best hair, right? Like her hair is great. But I think the short doesn't always work for me, but when it's like super poker straight, I love it. I think it looks great. I think that's when the short hair works the most for me. And that jumpsuit looks fucking fantastic on her. And she's got hoops. And I love a hoop. So
the girlies were going through a fuck ass Bob moment in the late 90s, early aughts. We all had a Bob. It was just what we did.
And all the Scream movies.
Just one weird thing. This is the last episode from Sean Ryan, who wrote The Thin Dead Line reunion, like some of the darker episodes of this season. And a year after this went on to create the Michael Chiklis show, The Shield.
Oh.
Which is of some note. So strange writing pedigree on this one, that he writes one of the more comedic episodes of the series. Yeah. Or rather of this season.
Yeah. Huh. What grade do we give the episode? Dana?
I'm going to give this one a B+ because I found it had a lot of great setup. Good performances, fun dialogue. It just felt like an entertaining hour of TV for me.
Okay. I like that. Ian?
It's probably a C+ for me.
That's fair.
Acknowledging that just I'm fully aware of my personal tastes and biases on this one.
Listen, that's what you're grading for, you know? It's
Remember, there's no wrong answers.
Yes. Kim?
I'm going to go A-.
Oh.
I liked it.
C+ for me. I'm there with you, Ian.
Yeah, it's just not what I come to the show for.
It's like, it's not terrible. It's just, and it is very like Empire Strikes Back. It's like, we're just kind of like getting to the stuff is what this episode is doing. But I enjoyed it more than I remember. I like did not remember this episode at all. If you had said when I was like, before I had even done like a speed watch for images, I would have had no idea what this episode was.
That's what I'm saying. This whole arc is memorable as a whole, but I think lacks the individual identity.
Yeah.
And I can't believe it's 4 or 5 episodes long. I don't even remember how many episodes long it is, because it feels maybe 2 or 3 at the most to me in my head, but
it also does the job of its title, right? I mean, I feel like the one appalling thing in the episode is like the weird, like, you know, thing with the director, and then maybe the, you know, objectification of the gang. Other than that, like it really tracks for the title. They're all sort of trying to find their place.
True.
You know, is Cordy an actress, or is she someone with visions? Is, you know, Wesley a leader, or someone who's just going to constantly disappoint his dad? Is Gunn, you know, a part of the gang, the Angel headquarters gang, or is he actually like, you know, part of his previous group of people that, you know, I feel like that, and even Lorne, right? Like with his old place and his new place. So to me, it really does hold up as an episode on its own, because all of those different storylines are on the same theme.
That's fair. But yes, thank you all for doing this. Thank you all for listening. This will be our first episode back until we get to the end of Angel, and we'll be going weekly until the end of the season. Not that there was that many episodes left. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on all podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. If you want to find us on social media, we are at Slayerfest X98 across all social media platforms. If you want to follow me, I'm at IanXCarlos. Ian, where can everyone find you?
I am youtube.com/passionofthenerd.
And Kim, where can everyone find you and get your poetry book?
You can go to my website, KimberlyAndSouthwick.com, and everywhere else, including whatever the heck we're moving to that isn't Twitter, and Twitter, which is really the one I'm still on mostly, Kim and Joe South, no extra E's.
All right. And Dana?
Yeah, I'm at Dana Piccoli 2Cs1L pretty much everywhere. I'm on Threads and Blue Sky now too, so see you there.
You know, I did get accounts I got a Blue Sky and something else. But I got Blue Sky and Threads for Slayerfest, but I literally got the account and have I think I posted one thing from Blue Sky.
Same with my Gigantic Sequins accounts. It's hard. You can't. Yeah, I mean, there's reasons that probably you haven't posted there, but I feel good that we have those accounts there.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like if we need to switch.
Yeah, we have them if they're there if we need them. But yeah. All right, everyone.
Right on.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.